No. Wait, is it? So, what's up, my guys? And the information is here with us. El Mencho is no more. No. Yes. Mixed feelings. I know. Some of us will love the good old trafficker story, and some of us in society believe that that is actually a bad thing, which it is. I'm not excusing trafficking, but guys, El Mencho is no more. Leader of the infamous CJNG, the new generation Jalisco gang. And man, this guy has been on the most wanted list for decades. I remember the first time I came across this guy was around 2018, I believe around that time. And funny enough, I think the guy was arrested in American prisons before, I think in San Francisco, before becoming the leader of one of the most infamous drug cartels. Another thing to note is this guy was brutal and he was very violent. This guy killed government officials like water. It's crazy, man. But this is the funny cycle about trafficking, yeah? Is that immediately one person dies, the next one is ready. And there's a new offensive, like a new war on drugs that Trump declared, but how deep does it go? Is it really gonna last? Is this fight gonna go on for the long term, or is it something that's just dealt with now and tomorrow is back to square one? Anyway, let's hear what BBC has to say.
Hello, welcome. I'm Nomia Iqbal. In Mexico, the army has confirmed the death of one of the country's most feared drug lords, known as El Mencho, caught and killed in a dawn raid. He was killed in an operation in the town of Talpapa. The US had previously issued a $15 million reward for the capture of the co-founder and leader of the Jalisco New Generation drugs cartel. It's feared for its use of extreme violence. Violence broke out in the country as a result of his killing. Suspected members of the cartel began burning dozens of cars and trucks in the state and a neighboring state as...
Mad. So imagine how much influence this guy has that he shut the whole city down. And I know this operation was done in collaboration with the Americans. I in fact think the Americans had the bigger hand, like the bigger play, like they're the ones who tracked him to his exact location, because from what I heard is that he was injured while they were trying to capture him. The whole operation was to try and capture him, but in that commotion he was injured and they were flying him to Mexico City, I guess, for treatment and questioning and all of that, and he died on his way there. But it's a crazy story. And I think I heard something like his son was captured as well, or he's someone close. I know he has a son who's doing life plus 30 years in is it FDX or what they call it, the Supermax prison. And I think there's like a nephew or something of his that's also been captured. So what I hear, according to the information I've done on my own, is that 03 is up next. If you know, you know.
Army moved in, possibly to try to delay the operation. Our Latin American correspondent, Will Grant, joins us now from Mexico. Good to have you with us, Will. First of all, for people who might not know anything about El Mencho, who was he?
He was crucial, Nami. I mean, we often talk in Mexico about kingpins and drug lords and so on. This was one of the very, very biggest. In this particular moment in time, the most wanted man in Mexico, by some distance, I would say. The feared leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, which is a vast criminal organization which traffics tons and tons of methamphetamine, cocaine and fentanyl into the United States, responsible for scores of murders a year. And, you know, one of those who really underpins the criminal underworld in this nation. Of course, it's a major victory on some level for the authorities here, for the military who killed him in a raid, injured him initially, and then he died en route to Mexico City. But of course, we're seeing the unfolding violence that goes with that, as his organization is extremely powerful and very, very well armed.
Now, National Guard...
And you know, the thing is, with these organizations here is once you capture the boss, the first few hours or days, the first few hours leading to the next few days is the most important, because 3 things happen when the boss is either captured, imprisoned, or dead. Let's say when the boss is knocked off. The first thing is a struggle for power within the lieutenants. That's gonna happen. If it's not that, fighting for routes from other gangs. So that's the second thing. The third thing is it can cause emergency of gangs. So gangs come together. Those are 3 different scenarios, and in all scenarios there's a lot of violence involved. So the biggest questions of trying to answer what happens next after taking down such a big drug lord is that the violence escalates, and we are seeing that in Mexico.
Have been deployed outside the attorney's office after that killing. We just showing some live pictures there in Mexico City of the National Guard outside the office. And Will, just give us a sense of what happens when leaders are taken out, this sort of kingpin strategy. Does it work? Is it something that, what happens as a result of it?
Delayed gratification. It might be one of the most underrated secrets to success. Hey, it's Dean Graziosi, and I want to share.
It can have an impact. I mean, somebody like El Mencho, these organizations can be quite top heavy in the sense that an individual leader can be an important, more than just a cog in a bigger machine. They are leaders for that very reason. They lead troops, they lead men, and they bring strategy to the table. That said, where one leader falls, another is invariably ready to take his place or her place. There are important women in drug trafficking too, but it is key that when one falls, there's generally people beneath him to replace him. We'll see what happens in this particular instance. It is interesting, this degree of violence and how quickly it's unfolded, and a real challenge for law enforcement in cities across Mexico. And let's just mention some of those cities. They include Guadalajara, the state capital, important cultural center in Mexico. They include, and going to be a host city of the FIFA World Cup this summer. They include Puerto Vallarta, a very, very important tourist hotspot in the country where potentially thousands of tourists currently hold up. So, this is a major moment in sort of drug war history in Mexico.
And Will, I think we're still trying to work out, you might actually know more than I do, if the US were involved in any capacity in this operation, but nonetheless, I imagine that this will be seen as a victory by President Trump, the death of someone as significant as El Mencho.
I can't lie. This has American fingerprints all over it. I can't lie, it has American fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, I mean, what we're hearing from the Mexican embassy in the United States is that there was US involvement in terms of intelligence work, and giving it that sort of slight sense of a joint operation in that regard. But my understanding is that what unfolded on the ground was a Mexican military raid that led to the death of El Mencho, but with intelligence supports from the United States. We'll doubtless hear more during the week, particularly once President Claudia Sheinbaum has her early morning press briefing on Monday.
But
you're right, this will be played as a victory, I think, on both sides of the border, with Donald Trump pushing, since he returned to office, for greater action to take place against Mexican cartels.
Thank you so much, Will. Good to talk to you. That's Will Grant there, our Latin America correspondent. Chris Dolby is a...
This is like crazy news for, I guess, Mexico at large, because the 2 biggest cartel leaders have been taken down in the past few years. That's El Chapo and now El Mencho. So I just wonder what's next for the kingpins in Mexico. Yeah, because right now Trump's eyes on Mexico. I know all those other guys like Colombia. Since Maduro got taken down, now these other guys taken down. Actually, the guys at the bottom are the ones who are like, okay, now we see space. So the guys who are down, it's your time to get a come up, man. It's a time to get a come up. But anyway, that's all we have for today, man. Stay tuned. Click that subscribe button, man. We out.